Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining this webinar. As I kind of previously mentioned, I'm seeing in the chat so many different hellos from all across the globe. We're really excited that you've joined us today. To just kind of start with introductions, my name is Lucy, and I am a customer success manager here at monday.com. I am joined by two of my colleagues, Iran Helft, who is a product manager at monday.com, as well as Oren Ezra, who is head of product marketing for monday.com. So we are all three on the Zoom with you today and really excited that you have joined us for our webinar. Let's go over a little bit of our agenda as well as some housekeeping items before we get into the real content of the webinar. Today we're going to start by discussing all things Monday 2.0. What is Monday 2.0 and what makes us a work OS? I'm going to be leading that section of this webinar. And we'll dive into some recently released features as well as what's to come. So some really exciting sneak peeks of what you can potentially expect from your monday.com platform and experience. We'll then have Iran jump in, and he will be talking to us about the product direction for 2020, where we are headed and the things that we're excited to be releasing and looking toward the future. And we'll end with a Q&A. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in here and talk all things Monday 2.0. What is Monday 2.0? Let's start by being sure we're all on the same page. I'm sure that you've seen our new 2.0 term in emails, maybe on our website, potentially in the media, but let's all level set together. We are now a work operating system known as a work OS. And our work OS empowers teams to run any workflow, any process, any project with utter confidence. We are able to adjust to shifting needs, create transparency around work, and connect collaboratively. Ultimately, monday.com 2.0 makes teamwork click. Okay, so what is a work OS? Let's dive into that term and really explore that together. We are shaping and designing this category and super excited to be doing that. Previously, we never really felt that other categories of software described what monday.com can do. There was project management tools, CRMs, team collaboration tools, but it didn't fully encompass all of what monday.com can do and how we can best support teams that are cross-industry, cross-region, cross-size, cross-workflow. A work OS is what we are and what we do. As I said earlier, it really makes teamwork click. In the past year, we've transformed our platform to what it is today. And this has been a very long kind of culmination of releases of many really impactful features, hopefully some of which you've explored and interacted with as you've been working on monday.com. So to start, you can still do all of what you've always been able to do on monday.com, but now there are enhancements that offer a truly full solution that'll house all work across all facets of your organization. We've added in additional capabilities, which we will be releasing very soon, and that will really allow you to use the platform really as a foundational tool to which you can build solutions to every single thing you need to manage. We have over 50 column types so that you can capture and visualize almost any data type in your board. Again, hopefully some of which you've already interacted with. We have views that enable you to capture, visualize, understand, and extract data from the platform. Our views are very vast. So everything from timeline to Kanban view to calendar, file view, map view, form view, and more. You can automate your workflow. We now have over 100 predefined automation recipes that enable you to eliminate that grunt work from your daily work. So you can focus on the stuff that really does require your talents. And a little sneak peek, we'll be adding in a custom recipe automation builder that is coming soon that I'm going to be showing you a little sneak peek of today. We've introduced integrations. We have integrations with over 35 tools in the last few months that has all been released so that you can use the tools from all over your organization and connect in a single integrated workspace. We hope that this will eliminate dual data entry, reduce that human error aspect, and provide a single source of truth within monday.com. And finally, we have over 25 dashboard widgets to best analyze your work data and visualize it for visibility, for alignment across teams, for reporting, for transparency. In January, we were excited to introduce our workload management widget and view, which I am going to cover in depth later today. And you can really expect a lot more to come from us. It's a super exciting direction, and we're excited to be with you on this journey. With this new definition, we aim to inspire you to build more and more of your workflows on monday.com. WorkOS captures what monday.com provides for users ultimately. Today, we're going to focus on some improvements in the platform released in the past few months, plus demonstrate live some of the new features that will soon be releasing into beta. Iran, as I mentioned earlier, will then lead our second half, focusing on first ever kind of sneak peeks and previews into our product direction for 2020. And he'll provide some actual examples of features that we're working on. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead now, exit the presentation and jump into the platform with you. You can see here that I'm working in this account right here. Hopefully everyone can see it on their screen. And let's dive into monday.com. So to start, whenever we do these webinars, it's always helpful to kind of just quickly level set on the sample use case that I'll be utilizing to guide our discussion today. And for today, I'm going to say I'm part of a design and creative team, okay? So that's the use case we'll be utilizing. I am responsible for producing assets for various campaigns, internal requests, social media campaigns, digital assets. My team has many internal stakeholders, partnering closely with departments such as marketing, product, sales, my executive suite, and more. I work with external vendors and external companies. Needless to say, the example use case is part of a much larger ecosystem. It has a complex and fast-paced workflow. And I really hope that many of you can relate to that. We know that we rarely work in silos, and I'm sure whatever your use case is, you can understand that there's a complexity of work that you really need to manage and have a central source of truth for. So let's go ahead and dive into some of the awesome features to come of the WorkOS. And we're going to start with workspaces. So here we go. Here are our workspaces. Now, to start, workspaces are not yet out. They are going to be beta released at the end of March. They are subject to change, but this is our initial vision. So what can workspaces do, and what do they help you to achieve? Ultimately, think of a workspace like a master folder. They help you to achieve a global view, as well as give you access to zooming in on the nuances of an individual team or an individual unit. They allow multiple teams to collaborate together and in one environment. Okay, so you can see here, I have these several different icons, the M for my main workspace, the D for my design workspace, HR, R&D, software, sales, so on and so forth. Should I click on all workspaces, I can see all of the workspaces within my account, some of which are private and others I can join and add to my account. This allows my entire organization to collaborate in one central WorkOS together. Because if I'm part of the customer success team, my work might be housed in this workspace. However, the HR team can work efficiently in this workspace as well. We're all together in one WorkOS, but focused on our individual efforts in our individual workspaces. Okay, so here I've joined my design and creative workspace, and when I open this, I have several folders similar to the organizational structure you'll see now, as well as my boards that are my projects, my tasks, my processes, things that I'm really managing at a more nuanced, zoomed in level. One big benefit of workspaces is it allows for privacy as well as transparent collaboration. Advanced workspaces will work on permissions. So you will have to be invited into the workspace in order to see that work. However, that is coupled nicely with main workspaces or public workspaces that can be joined and seen for all. It's a very transparent solution. Additionally, we think this is a really exciting change because it really enables multifaceted organizations to work together in this shared environment. It's one work OS and everybody can collaborate together. Okay, so here are our workspaces. As mentioned, they're not out yet, but we're excited for our beta release at the end of March. Next up, I want to talk about sub-items. This is another feature to come that will really help to enable you operating within your work OS. And to show the sub items, I'm going to go ahead and use this board right here. As mentioned previously, I'm part of that design and creative team. And this board is kind of focusing in on one particular project that I'm working to manage, which is a subway ad campaign, tracking kind of all my details and the nitty gritty. Now, a lot of it looks exactly as Monday always did, transparent, visual, colorful, very easy to collaborate, to communicate. All of those amazing elements are still there. But as we mentioned, we're adding additional features that really will enable that work OS. Let's talk about sub-items. This has been something that we have actually been requested a lot, so we're super excited to bring it to life. Sub-items help us to break tasks into smaller units, to help work feel more manageable, to help processes be managed more efficiently, to break down the complex into more kind of specific items here. So on this board, you can see I have all of these different kind of phases of my project. And within each one, each item is a bit task oriented, okay? So within my sketching and prototype group, I need to talk about my first ideas and sketches. Now, there's gonna be a bit that goes into that. I think that the overall category might be a bit too general. Great example of how to add in a sub item. By clicking on the down caret, creating a sub item, I now have what looks like a new item, but is nested within my overall item here. So within this first ideas and sketches, I can add in brainstorm 5 ideas. Okay, add another one, sketch out top 3 ideas, so on and so forth. You get the picture. Now, what's really cool here is that I can see that I have sub-items demonstrated, as well as the column structure does not have to be parallel to the one above. So while all this information is needed for my kind of high level, more broad general idea, I can customize my sub-item to maybe have some different columns. So maybe a date is not really as necessary here, but actually adding in a file column would be really helpful because I want to upload my ideas and my sketches. So I can have this all within this one space. Go ahead and collapse the sub item as well as re-expand it when I do need to dive into those nitty-gritty details. That's kind of a sneak peek into sub-items. This is not out yet, but we are really excited to release this soon. Subject to change, may look a little bit different as we're working through the kinks, but ultimately this is the idea of how you can enable sub-items into your workflow. Okay. Let's talk about another kind of cool board enhancement that is to come, and that is custom column templates. I'm hoping that most of you have interacted with our board templates that offer kind of a great starting point, a great jumping off place to get started in managing your work. We took that to the next level and wanted to increase the ease of use of monday.com and have added in custom column templates. To add in one, you will go to that column, the down caret, and now I can save this column as a template. Okay, so what are some examples of how that this can help? For example, the status column. These all have very bespoke custom labels that are specific to maybe your department or your team even, or maybe even the project you're working on. Maybe these are reoccurring, and rather than constantly typing in these new labels and having to reset them every time a project rolls over into a new board, boom, you can add in a column template, and that will then be visible in your column center. On the column template, I can name this to save as a template, confirmed. And once I go into my column center, it will be visible there and easy for me or my team to use. Okay, so that's another kind of sneak peek. In addition, because I mentioned the status columns right here, we are excited that one of our newest features is that we will be adding 10 colors to the status column. In the past, it had been 20 labels available to be utilized. We're actually adding in 10 to come. So really excited that we'll have a release of additional status labels coming imminently. Let's talk about one of our awesome January releases, and that was the workload. We're going to start with looking at the workload at the board level, and then we'll jump to the dashboard level to give us a bit of that global view. So to start, what does the workload do, and how can it help our workflow? Essentially, the workload, which is already out, released in January, helps you to see who is busy at any time, who is at capacity, who is overutilized on your team, and who is underutilized on your team. This will help you to effectively manage the personnel that you're interacting with. This will help your staff to visualize what they're working on, as well as if they are able to take on a bit more comparative to what the load of others on the team. To use this view, you're going to need 3 things on your board that will all pull into the view together. Ultimately, you're going to need the people column, a date column, and a number column. And the number is primarily used for an estimation of how long the task will take. That way we're all able to understand how one resource is utilized comparative to another resource. So let's just look at that on my board here. I have a people column right here. I have a date column right here. And I've utilized a number column to show the estimated time I'm associating with each task. Given the nature of my board, it's very hard for me to understand if my designer here is a bit overutilized or underutilized. Maybe can she take on something else? And I really want to see that in a very visual way. That's a great example of how I'm going to utilize the workload. By going to my board view, clicking on the workload view, which I've added from the view center, I'm launched into the workload view. Okay, here I can see based on days, weeks, or months, the commitment of each member of my team. I have my 4 team members here, as well as their overall commitment. In the settings menu, I've enabled right here, I'm able to pull in the certain columns from my board. So we know that maybe you'll have multiple people columns, multiple date columns. This essentially just allows for customization of which of those columns should influence the view. We can measure the effort in 2 ways, simply by an item count, how many items are they assigned to that they are working on in this particular time period, or I can add in that numbers column, which shows an estimated effort. I'm able to set a weekly capacity for each of my team members, and that way I can see that Noah, for example, is pretty much at capacity. She's at 14 of her 20 hours, whereas Jess is only at 2. So here I know that I can add in additional responsibilities for Jess, and maybe Noah I should give a bit of a break to. Should somebody be overloaded, their circle will become red. Again, very visual, very transparent, easy to see what's going on with your team and how to manage an overall workload for your team. I hope as I'm talking, everyone is putting questions in the Q&A. I see some that are already going in there. We definitely want to get to all of your questions. So as they come to mind, please go ahead and throw them in the Q&A, and we'll definitely be getting to those. Okay. So this was workload at the board level. Let's go ahead and look at workload at the dashboard level. And what are dashboards? And let's kind of level set on that first. So dashboards give us that global perspective. They are a great place for data analytics, for reporting, for looking at a really global perspective of all of the projects you have going on. And again, this is within the context of your work OS. So this might be across departments. This might be across projects at different levels of the organization. We want one source of truth to see these all wrapped up together. And that's a great example of how to utilize our dashboards. Here, I'm going to click on a dashboard already configured for our design and creative department. It pulls in several widgets that help me to report and understand the different various projects I have going on, and kind of a roll up into one space. While we have the workload board view, we also have added in a workload widget. This was released in January. I hope that a few of you have already kind of checked this out and explored it. And if not, please go ahead and take a look at it later today. Essentially, this workload widget compiles all of the work and time and all the things we just sort of discussed for review in cross-board into one singular view. Okay, so this will help us understand who on our team is busy, at capacity, so on and so forth. This is an example of the workload widget we can see right here. And essentially, I was able to pull in multiple projects into one shared space. So how do I add that in? When I go to edit, add a widget, or this is now my widget center where I can search all of our various widgets, 25 already and many more to come. I can add in the workload widget. Functionally, I go through the flow of selecting which boards should be involved in the widget, as well as maybe customizing a bit of the columns that I like, the groups, the effort and capacity. Essentially, you get the idea, but the configuration is very akin to every other widget. But now we're able to see exactly who is working on what, who is at capacity, who is overloaded across several different projects, and who may be underutilized. Here I have it right here, very visual and transparent. We've made some additional kind of capabilities and updates to our dashboards that will only kind of enable them to be better and stronger. The first is that you are able to share dashboards with guests. So those are for sharing dashboards externally to a client, to a vendor, to a freelancer, to someone you might want to kind of showcase your work to, but they don't need to see the nitty-gritty of everything within monday.com. Share a dashboard. We've also added in the ability to export dashboards. Again, really great for reporting functionalities, and export them out to Excel or to a PDF, something that'll kind of take them outside of the platform and make them usable in a different way. And we're excited to add in more widgets, as well as more widgets per dashboard. So a lot more to come here. Okay, the last kind of in-platform thing I'd like to show is just advancements that we've made to our automations. As we kind of discussed earlier, automations are super key in helping to remove that grunt work, to make that work happen efficiently and smoothly and without any need for human error. Back to my board is kind of my example. Definitely just want to highlight briefly a few of the new automations we've added. When I click my automation center and look at all of the automation recipes that I have available, over 100 at this point, we've done a lot with cross-board automations. So you can take different items or different actions that occur in one board, and that will lead to trigger an action in another board. Item move. Okay, so this is an example right here, that very familiar trigger and action type recipe style. When a status changes to something, move item to a different board. It allows you to work collaboratively across many different boards and environments using automations that'll happen automatically. Right, now I'd like to give you a quick sneak peek into two features that we're working on and super excited to have coming out in the near future. So we hope that left you kind of excited for what's to come from these two spaces. We're really excited to kind of integrate these into our platform and to move forward with them and hopefully get them out there soon. So essentially, that was our recap of what was recently released as well as what's to come. As a refresher, we touched on workspaces, template columns, sub-items, workload, custom automations, and Monday apps. All things that are really going to enable that work OS and take it to the next level, some of which are already out, others are to come. So definitely stay tuned. I'm going to go ahead and hand it over now to Iran Health, who is one of our product managers, and he is going to be going into kind of the product direction of monday.com 2.0 and where we see this going. So Iran, over to you.
Thank you very much, Lucy. So before we dive into what's coming in the product direction for 2020, I just want to add another sentence to the Monday apps, the video Lucy just showed. Basically, what it allows any developer out there is to build their own custom applications on top of Monday. That means that you can use all of our building blocks from columns, views, dashboard widgets, anything whatsoever, add your own type of code to it and build your own app to answer any type of use case. But that was about that. Let's move forward. So I would just like to say before we kick this one off is that this is obviously a general direction, an overall direction of what we're aiming to do and planning to do. It will obviously change over time, but as we move forward, these are the main themes we're after and the main features we are planning to develop and release in this upcoming year. Lucy? Lucy? Okay, cool. So let's do a quick overview before we dive into each one. So first thing first, we're gonna make the boards a lot more powerful. So we're planning to improve the views, like timeline and forms. We're gonna enhance the linkage capabilities to better connect between boards. We're gonna make the dashboards so much easier to use and flexible and allow you to get a lot more insights in a much easier way. And I've seen a lot of you ask that in the chat, so that's definitely one of the things we're after. When talking about use case-based packaging, we're gonna add a wide variety of boards and dashboards which are already configured to address, I wouldn't say any, but a lot of the use cases and workflows you're already solving through Monday. So that's gonna be ready for you right out of the box to use anytime you need. We have a lot of improvements coming up to our mobile apps on both iOS and Android, which we'll go over them in more depth in a few slides. And last but not least, we're gonna create a whole new layer of transparency on top of our automations to make sure you always have the full visibility as to what's working, what's failed. Hopefully they will never fail, but just in case they do, and what actions were performed automatically. So let's start with a deeper dive into our boards. So as you probably know, timelines are great for project management, and we're gonna make them even better by adding the ability to add milestones and dependencies right on top of your timeline. That should be a great boost for project planning. Next up would be conditional forms. And with this new functionality, you'll be able to add built-in logic directly into your forms. As an example, when someone answers question 1 with a specific answer, let's say A, the form will automatically show some other question, not necessarily the one next in line. So let's say question number 4. This will give you a major boost when you're sending out surveys and collecting data and more stuff. The most exciting thing for me anyway is the bi-directional board and item linkage. So when connecting boards is another core capability we're going to focus on. And this means you could bring your information from multiple boards into one. Sum it up as a roll-up and track different projects from just one place. This will, at least as I see it, will be a game changer for high-level and low-level type of use cases, CRM capabilities, project management, and many others. Improvements to the time tracking column, like break down the time records and annotate them, add description to each one, freezing columns to allow you to keep the columns you're aiming for always visible when scrolling in the board. And we have a lot more things coming on together. So basically your boards are gonna be so much powerful and better. You can build a lot more use cases on top of them. So dashboards. So we already have dashboards, which are an amazing capability within Monday, and we're gonna make them even more amazing. So We're going to focus on making it a lot easier to extract insights and reports and do it in an easier way. So first and foremost, we're gonna make them a lot easier to build, and this comes into play in two ways. First, we're introducing a whole new way of adding data into your dashboards and into your widgets. And second, we're gonna make the performance and loading time of dashboards a lot faster and smoother. This means that creating dashboards is gonna be a super fun and seamless experience. One more thing is we're adding a new types of widgets for you, like goals and word cloud and burnout and map and many more. Each of these widgets opens up new use cases for you you can solve through and the data you can display through the dashboards. And last but not least, we'll be adding packaged solutions and templates. As an example, when planning and monitoring a project, you probably need something of a way to keep progress or see the workload like Lucy showed for each person, monitor timelines and more. And instead of adding each of these widgets and boards one by one, you're gonna have a whole new set ready for you out of the box. You can just add it and you're good to go. So following up on what I mentioned in the dashboards about having, pre-built or pre-packaged dashboards, there's also a lot of other out-of-the-box solution plans. So dashboards was one. Lucy mentioned the templated columns beforehand. So we're going to add these. So we're going to add boards that are specifically built for different types of workflows or use cases. Lucy talked before about workspaces. For those of you who missed it, a workspace is kind of like a master folder, if you will. It's an area that holds boards and dashboards and can be shared with other people, teams, has its own permissions levels and so on. We're going to talk about them maybe in the end some more. And we're going to add workspaces that are already built for a certain use case, kind of like a CRM or a product roadmap and more. You can see a few examples on the left-hand side of the screen. So if you're up for, you need to do an event planning as an example, you can just add the workspace. It's going to be added right away with all the boards and the dashboards already built for event planning in this specific scenario. And lastly, and you kind of maybe figured it out from what I mentioned before, is we're breaking down the separation between boards and dashboards. So up until now, they were in two different parts of the navigation menu. And that means that when you worked with either one, you had to scroll back and forth between the boards and the dashboards. What we're doing now with the dashboards is we're actually bringing all the types of boards, so boards and dashboards, into the same place. So whenever you need to work with your data, you have everything in one place, quickly accessible for you, and that's going to make the work, at least the way we feel it, a lot easier. Our last subject for today, before heading out to our Q&A session, is our mobile apps. Now let's go over some of the things we've got coming. So the first one would be saved views. Now, as you probably know and feel, getting to the relevant content can be challenging with a smaller screen like the one we have on mobile. Now, saved views make your data accessible in any view and with any type of filter. And we're providing now support for views within mobile, which means that you're going to have the easiest way to get your content whenever you are. Another improvement coming up to make it easier to get your content is a smart zoom in and out option. So kind of like a map, if you will. When you zoom out or in, we're going to slightly adjust the data to match your zoom level. So if you're going to zoom out, we might take some data off, so it will be easier for you to get an overview or navigate within the board itself. Three additional things coming up in the boards area of the mobile. So one is support for sub-items, obviously, workspaces, and a few new types of views. And these are all together going to make all your data super accessible and easy to navigate to. Another piece is our dashboard. So we talked a lot about them today, and dashboards are super meaningful for a lot of different use cases. And as you might know, they're not available on mobile as of today. You have them on web, and really soon, you're gonna have them available on your mobile as well. So whenever you need a high-level summary, a report, or anything at all, you can just take your mobile out of your pocket, and there you have it. Last thing for today, before the video and the Q&A, are major improvements coming up to all of our communication aspects in the app. So we're gonna put real effort in those areas. So up until now, it was impossible to edit updates from your mobile, and we're gonna change that. So you'll be able to post, edit, add files, anything through your mobile. Also, uploading files was a bit, I would say, lacking so far. We're adding support to all files type. We're gonna integrate with your favorite sharing apps like Box or Dropbox, and it's gonna be blazing fast. And in the notifications area, we're gonna add new capabilities to allow you to search for notifications, snooze them for later, and everything you need to stay in control of your work.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Aram, for kind of going over all that. As you can all see, there's a lot of really exciting things to come, and we're super excited to share it all with you. We're going to go ahead and start now the Q&A portion. And the first thing is that we really do want to answer all your questions. It's absolutely our goal, but of course, given the time constraint, might not be entirely possible. So let's try to get to as many as we can. And if something is left unclear or undefined, please reach out to us. We're always here to help. So to start, there were a lot of questions surrounding Monday apps that I saw in the chat, particularly just kind of if there will be a separate webinar on Monday apps, maybe a bit more about how they'll work functionally. Can you, are they a marketplace, everything like that. So Iran, I'm gonna let you go ahead and take this one. If you don't mind telling us a bit more all about Monday apps.
Sure. So basically, Monday apps gives you a place in which you can take different workflows out of our existing ones. And I saw people asking about, bots and so on. So right now we have, I would say about 6 building blocks available. That would be views and columns and a few others. And we will add, updates and all the other parts of the system as components available for you to use. Once you got that, we have a really easy to use API and other stuff we're sending you over. You can build whatever type of app you need. It will be a private app, which means it will be available for your account only. At a later point in time, we're also going to add public apps, so you'd be able to either publish it or use other people's apps. And from that point on, you're pretty much free to do anything you need with the apps within your boards themselves. So you can embed it, as I said, in a view, in a column, whatnot, and just use it in any type of functionality you need.
In terms of regarding additional information and webinars, that is something I can definitely imagine that we will host and look to really connect with our users that are heavily utilizing this feature. So a lot of support coming from there as well, from both our support channels as well as other internal channels that we have.
I will add to that, Lucy, is that we're currently taking requests to join the beta program of the apps. So we'll, along with the recording or in a follow-up email of this webinar, we'll send over the link, which basically takes requests in order to join that beta program. If you're aiming to develop something, you have the developers for it, and you have a very cool idea, just fill in the form, join the beta, and you can do seriously amazing stuff with the apps.
Great. There were a lot of questions regarding when things are being released. So I'm going to go ahead and toggle back to this slide particularly. These were the features that I reviewed in my portion of the webinar. I saw a lot of questions regarding when sub-items are going to be released and available. So these are all of the beta releases. As mentioned, some of the things that I covered, workload widget, workload view, that is already out. But for those others that are not quite out yet, here is when you can expect beta release of those. So for any of you asking about sub items, we're looking at the beginning of March 2020. Okay. Great. Let's talk about custom automations. I did see a lot of questions around custom automations. This is a super exciting feature. I saw somebody wrote in the chat that they're going to be spending their whole day just building and creating new custom automations, and I completely echo where you're coming from. Iran, do you mind telling us a bit more about custom automations and particularly, I guess, how they'll kind of work functionally in your account? Will you have a library of your own custom automations? Will they be available for all, only on certain plans, so on and so forth?
Sure thing. So kind of like everything, the details themselves are not 100% finalized, but if you'll think about it, and each automation in Monday has 2 pieces to it, right? A trigger, which basically what sets the automation. It's kind of like what you see on the screen, like, so when a status changes to something, and then an action, so what follows the trigger. Now, there's so many different combinations in which you can use the different blocks and the different triggers and actions to build any type of logic. And obviously we haven't covered all of them, right? I mean, you can use any set of columns to do either one. So instead of us building a lot of stuff and we'll miss the specific use case someone was aiming for, we said, hey, why not let you build what you're up for? So basically, you can decide what's the trigger, what's the action. You can add multiple actions. So when a state is changed to production, you can assign someone and create another item and move something to another group or create something in another board. So you can add as many actions as you want to each and every specific automation you're adding. And also, we're going to add at the second phase operators. So you can do combinations of and or or. So when a status changes to production and blah, 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 then you can do so-and-so action. So we're going to take the existing building blocks and just make them a lot more robust, add a lot more logic to them, a lot more operators, and then each and every one can build the exact workflow or automation they're aiming for their specific use case and workflow. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that was really helpful. And I'm seeing in the chat, yes, that made sense. Confirm from our users. Um,
Right.
let's talk about mobile. There's definitely a lot of questions here about things coming out on the mobile app. It sounds like we have a lot of people that are really excited for some of the advancements on mobile. Particularly one thing I do see consistently is about dashboards on mobile. Do you mind kind of diving into a bit about how that might look and what our vision is for adding dashboards to the mobile apps?
Yeah, definitely. So dashboards are a core part of Monday, right? We use them in so many ways, to track multiple projects, multiple boards, to track different workload as you've seen, as you've shown, and a lot of other stuff. Now, many times you're on the go or you're in the field in a meeting, whatever, wherever you are, you might not have access to your PC, to your computer, and you're gonna need access to the same data. And you do have your mobile app. So one of the core features or functionality we aim to provide is actually having the dashboards available on mobile. So at the first stage, you won't be able to configure them from mobile. You'll be able to just consume them and see the data itself. In the second stage, you would also be able to configure them. So whatever data you need from Monday will be available for you whenever you are, wherever you are. And we feel that that's going to create a whole, let's say, a more complete experience of working in Monday.
Great. We do have about 2 minutes left, and I do want to be respectful of everyone's time. Oren, thank you so much for joining us today. Do you want to just kind of close out this webinar with some final thoughts on Monday 2.0, why we're excited for this direction, and just some final thoughts for our users that have joined us today?
Absolutely, Lucy. Thank you. Just before I do, I just wanted to mention one word about integrations. Lots and lots of questions about integrations. The quick answer is just hit on the integration center and see all of the new integrations that we have available. So there was a lot of questions about Shopify, HubSpot, Jira, and so on. Those are all available. You can take a look at them. Thanks, Lucy, for showing this list. So these are all out and available to you today. So we're really excited about where we're taking the platform. Hopefully you guys on the line will stick with us and enjoy all the wealth of new functionality that we have coming out in the next few weeks with all of the new beta functionality that's coming out. We'll be sure to keep in touch with you in upcoming webinars on a quarterly basis. We hope to do this again to show you as we progress with the roadmap and how things become more concrete and when you can be expecting features to come out Q2, Q3, and Q4. Thanks very much, everyone, for your time, and we look forward to being in touch with you.